Riding a slalom line requires a lot of bend changes. Well, heck, just about any riding requires a lot of bend changes, which can lead to pulling the horse around and leaning, both of which affect the smoothness of your communication with your horse. The tip that Dagmar shared and explains how to do in her interview for Coffee at the Barn relates to riding the single slalom one-handed. Our conversation reminded me of a couple of extra things I wanted to share with you that you can do on your next ride. Dagmar has her horses carry the garocha, which is normally an 8.5 to 11-foot pole, in one hand while holding the reins in the other hand. So these are riders that normally ride with two hands on the reins, so you don't have to have already mastered riding one-handed. But you definitely want to get your horse used to carrying the pole before you do this, but that's a different lesson. So we talked about the benefits to the horse and rider. Things like making the rider sit up straighter and using their legs, body, and weight cues more effectively. And while you can carry something smaller and lighter like a dressage whip, I believe the weight and length of the pole helps you use your core more effectively, both to maintain control of the pole and to not accidentally bump your horse with it. And that helps keep you sitting up straighter. So that got me thinking. Riders that do working equitation have to learn to carry the pole and spear a ring or knock a ball, and they generally do that with their dominant hand, the one they write with, because they're more coordinated with it. But carrying the pole, which adds more weight to one side, causes you to have to engage your core muscles. And because that's so beneficial, I strongly urge you to practice it on both sides. And you should do it whether you are a working equitation rider or not. It allows you to develop your muscle strength and coordination more equally and in a fun way. And you can't have a balanced horse if you're not a balanced rider. And you can't use your seat and legs effectively if you're not carrying your upper body. A bonus benefit to carrying the pole on each side is it makes sure your horse is comfortable with carrying things on either side in case you hurt yourself before a show and need to use the other hand for obstacles, or use your other hand on the reins, or you loan your horse to a rider who uses the other hand. But becoming a balanced rider is the key benefit that you should strive for. Another thing that we talked about in the interview is that riders often get too focused on steering their horse with the reins, forgetting about the rest of their aids. So while you think it would be distracting to have to control the pole and the horse, it actually helps you think more about being balanced and more subtle in your movements. And that made me think of something that I often see not being done. It's an easy thing that you can do on your next ride, whether you're riding with the pole or not, and whether you have one hand on the reins or two. And maybe you're already doing this, but pay attention to your alignment and that you are doing it equally well both directions, because of course we're right and left-handed and tend to be crooked, and that'll show up when you're riding. So you want to align your body to the line of travel, just like you ask your horse to align his. So we started out talking about riding the single slalom line, which weaves closely through 5 posts with changes of bend happening as you cross the center line between posts. Viewed from above, it's a very shallow bending line, so the change from one bend to the other should be minimal. And you could practice this exercise while doing the single slalom, or any time really, and any place that you're riding, because it's how you should be riding. If you imagine having a flashlight in your belly button and one on your forehead, you want to shine them both on the upcoming line of travel. Often people turn their head separately from their body, but by turning your upper body, there are a bunch of extra cues being given that you don't even have to think about. A couple of those are turning of your shoulders gives the outside rein, which allows bend and takes up the inside rein to maintain contact. And while you still have to control how much bend you allow, depending on what else is happening, it's the first step to making sure the horse is not looking to the outside in the turn, and that you haven't just pulled back on the inside rein, which will affect their ability to reach up under themselves with their inside hind leg. Another thing that happens as you turn your upper body is an increase in your thigh pressure on the outside, which acts as a subtle pushing aid without you trying to actively add it when people usually get too strong, and then it causes them to block with the outside thigh. So this turning of the upper body also keeps your shoulders aligned with your horse's shoulders, while allowing your hips to stay aligned with his hips, which is classically correct and doesn't happen if you just turn your head. So, while bending your horse to the left, you would turn your upper body from the belly button to the forehead, also to the left, so that your belly button and forehead flashlights are shining on the track the horse is going to be on. Then as the change of bend approaches, you would rotate to straight and then right, keeping your flashlights shining on the line you're following, the same line that you're asking your horse's feet to follow. So these were some extra thoughts I wanted to share after interviewing Dagmar for the Coffee at the Barn membership, and I'm going to summarize them for you in a minute. Each month, I get to interview 4 horse professionals and ask them about one of their favorite exercises so that you can learn how to do it with your horse, what the benefits are, what to watch out for. And while we chat, I ask some questions to make the exercise work for riders at different levels. And I share my own tips and observations from a lifetime of training horses and riders. So when you join us at Coffee at the Barn, you can listen to my full interview with Dagmar and lots of other horse professionals from a variety of disciplines. Each interview style lesson is delivered in about 20 minutes, so you can get some ideas and go try them with your horse for less than the price of a cup of coffee. And most people are signing up for the annual plan, which gives you 2 months free. So click on the link that's somewhere on this page if you want more details and to get signed up. I can't wait to hear how the 2 ideas from this video go for you and your horse. So the first one was carry a garrocha, a pole, or something similar, and see what you notice about your balance, the difference between one side of your body and the other. Try a bending line like the single slalom to evaluate how well you can communicate with your body and legs and not be pulling your horse around with an inside rein. And secondly, with or without the garrocha, experiment with how little you can do when you intentionally align your upper body with your intended line of travel. I look forward to hearing how that goes.